Assalamu alaikum. My name is Usman Khan, and thank you for connecting with us for today's Zoom In on Halal Metropolis, where we take a closer look at how the Muslim communities of Southeast Michigan are coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we'll be talking to Professor Tazeen Ayub and her partner, community advocate Ismael who in the artist world are better known as Lufuki and Divine Providence, who have also been featured in the Halal Metropolis exhibitions. So Tazeen, Ismael, Salam, and thank you for joining us for today.
Salam. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So kind of the first questions, of course, as creatives is like, how do we respond to something like this? You know, as humans, as sort of citizens of the nation, we are all probably responding very similarly. But as a creative individual, tell me what sort of the effects of what that means to you.
I think there's a lot that goes into it. I think part of it, creatives naturally are in this constant motion of production and producing and gigging and creating and sharing. And I think that part of us continues on, especially when we have more time at home to be able to focus on that. But I think on the flip side, it also helps not having to produce and being able to be still and really just listen in and be in tune with ourselves and see what's coming and what's flowing. A lot of times, you know, when we're gigging or when you're busy out in doing all the things that creatives and artists do, it's hard to have that time to just sit at home and just experiment and just, experiment with sounds or just test different things out. So this time has definitely given us the opportunity to play around with different sounds and to see where our sound is going, because it changes depending on the emotional state of the creative, right?
Yeah, also, I would say that it gives the artist an opportunity to become an interpreter, if you will, after this event is over.
Right.
Because 5-10 years down the line, to know what's happening, you can depend on the artist of what he produced at that time, because he's a reflection of the time. So as interpreters and what we see, I'm very optimistic as far as what's going to be the products that's going to come out of this from other artists I've talked with who are actually appreciative of this time. Even though it's drastic, it's a pandemic, but they're appreciating the time of slowing down and actually refocusing and becoming more intentional on what they're trying to do instead of the hustle bustle stuff.
Right.
So kind of on that note, and as someone who's a maker himself, there's a tendency to want to react and, give a response as an artist to the event. And I'm sure like your music or even songwriting, there might be thoughts like that. How are you guys coping with it? Or also what are your, recommendations to other artists? Because there's a tendency like, what can I do, in my capacity?
I would say, absorb what's around you, right? We can't help as artists to reflect what's going on. Like I probably within the last few weeks, I probably wrote 4 songs that I conceptualized, and one we actually put into so-called production that would be a part of our performance going forward. And there are like two or three more, and it could be more after this is all done. I'm just, like I said, I'm very optimistic on what's going to happen. So I would advise to artists we already people who are very in touch with our environment, so to dig deeper into actually in what we're trying to accomplish, because I think we have a big role in society just as much as doctors or lawyers, because we are the interpreters of our culture and our environment. So.
And everyone now is consuming art. I mean,
TV
and movies and
right.
That's all art that everyone's
see that
consuming.
now people see like the importance of it. Like we're getting calls to do live shows, live streams. So people are still craving a performance, something to
heal and,
to
you know.
heal or get them over whatever stresses they're dealing with. Art is still very important, just as it was before, and just as any profession, because we are part of the culture, just as anyone else or any other thing that people do,
Right.
So life without art, I can't imagine, it's unimaginable, life without art anywhere. And so we just try to not only fulfill that role, but be more authentic with ourselves and more intentional on what we're trying to do.
I think that aspect is also very important, being authentic with oneself, because if you see the artist or the creative as an interpreter of their culture or what's going on in their environment, then that requires the artist to be honest with themselves. What is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm going through in this moment? How is this situation affecting me, right? And that authenticity and that being vulnerable and being honest will come out in the music, or will come out in the art form, which then that art form becomes an interpretation for what this situation was like. What were people feeling during this time?
Yeah, because like one song we put in rotation, we just performed it for the first time live a couple nights ago. A song that we, just literally just put together within a week and a half. Well, I put together, the concept was there, and we contemplated on what was the feeling of the song. And of course, it has to relate to, the situation. So the song is called Necessity, which is a reminder to us that man is not a necessity in this world. If we were to be eliminated by this virus or anything, the world will go back to what it was, green and flourishing and, its own balance.
And we see that right now anyways.
So, so the results of this virus, it can be coupled in with materialism, over consumption, and we fell into that, that path. And this is the result that we live in. So we are in essence a cause of this also. So, and the animals, like you see it all the time, you see it on those, like animals are coming on the streets now, dolphins are showing up, so we're not a necessity. We are actually the poison of this, So by realizing that we're not a necessity, it could humble you, saying like, I'm not as great as I thought I was. I could be wiped out by a germ in any minute, So it shows our vulnerability, our dependency, and that we are not necessary. And it's for Muslims, particularly with Muslim artists, Allah is the only thing that's necessary, right? So we're just, expendable in some ways, but it's very humbling.
Right. No, absolutely. Nothing else. We've been very humbled.
Yeah.
Kind of on that note, you're talking about more of the content of the creative material that you guys are creating. I'm kind of curious about, let's say, because you're musicians, do you feel the anxieties around you affect your tonality even? Like, are you going more like toward melancholic sounds, or some of your music is really funky and happy?
I haven't written anything upbeat in the past couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah, we're both working from home too, aside from, the creative life that we live. So there's a lot of anxiety around that. There's a lot of anxiety around our family members and our elders and, people that we've lost in the community. All of that gets to us. So you hear that in the music. Definitely the song that he's talking about, you hear that in the song. It's tough. The tone of the song is, how would you describe it? It's more melancholic, I would say.
Yeah, more melancholic.
Yeah.
I like what they call vibrato, but this is like really like it's almost dark, but it's
but it's not. It's like
it's measures of love. Actually, it's measures of love, right? But knowing that you are not necessary for things to happen,
right?
In sort of way, So at least you're on a path of like, not wanting to be separate from your lover, right? And then it gets to a point where the realization of not necessary, a necessity. So it kind of like,
diverges. I think not just with that song. I think a lot of the music that we've written during this time has been, it is melancholic, but it has this tone of hope, where there is hope that things will change. There is hope that a better tomorrow will come. There is hope that us as a community and us as a society will be more reflective and more intentional about how we're impacting the earth which we live on. And
another song is we haven't it's another we haven't formed it yet, but it's called Fear and Hope, because I think the over information about this virus and statistics, and it created so much fear.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I was looking for something, especially if you're part of like a chat group. There's so much fear and statistics and memes and all that stuff that it creates so much fear. You forget there's another side of that. There's two wings of this. It's fear and hope. If we can stay balanced between those two wings, we can get through this at the end with a sane mind.
Right.
Because the first couple of weeks, I had to not be in contact with my phone, because it was information after information after information. And as a community, we should be of fear and hope. Yeah, it's happening to us. We should take precautions and things like that, but we should know this is from Allah, and there is hope in this. We just have to be smart and be safe, and keep that tawakkul going.
Right.
And I felt that it was unbalanced, so I wrote a song called Fear and Hope. It may most likely will come out after this pandemic and stuff like that, so I can get it more polished.
Great. Well, thank you for such beautiful thoughts. And I'm wondering if we could take maybe a listen to something that you guys have been working on.
Yeah, whenever you're ready. I got it. Just happen to have a guitar.
This is a piece that I wrote before the pandemic. Just been playing with it a little bit more. So hopefully it'll be one of the songs that will be more polished and fleshed out.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you.
That's the beginnings of a song.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other thing that's interesting is, you know, for me, I'm a guitarist and I'm also a vocalist, but I've only written 2 or 3 songs where I'm singing. I've been writing a lot of just instrumentals. I'm like, you know what, words don't explain what I'm feeling, so it's just the music.
Sometimes it just comes later.
Well, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. That was just, yeah, there was a sadness, but a kind of happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we want people, we definitely want people to be happy, you know, and reflective at the same time, you know. So we have a show coming up. I think I didn't tell you this yet. I think I want to do a song called "Thank You" because it's very like, it is what it is. The title says it's thank you. You know, being thankful for your partner, being thankful for life, being thankful for anything. You know, so
your health.
We have to remain hopeful and helpful. You know, this kind of goes hand in hand. Yeah. So it's not all doom and gloom, but there's a lot of reflection in what's coming. And as a matter of fact, on that topic, this event changed our trajectory as far as what we're going to release.
Oh yeah, for sure, in terms of the music.
So the songs I had before, you know, we have enough material like for 2 or 3 albums right now, right? That's on hold now. What we want to like, the 6 or 7 or 8 songs we're going to do, that's on hold because I would feel more comfortable putting out something that's more current
and related
yeah. So it totally changed our trajectory. Ours, I didn't have a Fear or Hope. I didn't have
a lot of these songs, but you know, that's what it is. Artists we always respond to what's happening in our environment and what's happening within us, and so it's expected that would change.
Yeah. Right. Well, Tazeen and Ismael, thank you so much for joining us and giving us those words of wisdoms and sounds of beauty. So thank you. And inshallah, we'll be hopefully seeing you guys in person sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care.